going on a cruise with my good friend Julie. She's never been on a cruise before, so as the date gets near, she's starting to ask a lot of questions about the main dining room. She wants to know, is it included in the cost of the fare? She also wants to know, what's the difference between traditional and anytime dining? And I think what she's most interested in finding out is what to wear, especially on those formal nights. And since eating in the main dining room, in my opinion, is one of the best parts of cruising, I put together a list of 21 tips, tricks, and things to know to make sure that you get your main room dining room experience just the way you want. And be sure to stay around till the end when I give you one time when you might actually want to avoid the main dining room. I've labeled everything as a tip. Some are tricks and some are things to know. My first couple of tips are main dining room basics. So let's start with tip number 1. The main dining room food is all included. It's included with your fare. That leads us to tip number 2, which is the main dining room is open not just for dinner, but it's also open for breakfast, some lunches, particularly on sea days, and then also many cruise lines have an afternoon tea also on those sea days. Tips number 3 and 4 have to do with meeting the Maitre D and your food restrictions that you might have that the main dining room can help you with. So the first day, you'd want to go in and check with the Maitre D if you have traditional dining. We'll talk a little bit later about what traditional versus anytime dining is, but if you have traditional dining, you may want to go that first day and find out where they have you sitting so that you can make adjustments if you think you'd rather sit somewhere else. While you're talking to the Maitre D, you might want to check in with them. You're going to use the app to share any dietary needs that you may have. So let's just say you're kosher or you can't eat gluten. You'll want to have that in on the app. But you will also want to talk to your Maitre D just to verify that they have all that information. While I'm speaking about that, the main dining room is probably the best place for you to eat if you do have dietary restrictions, because they're the ones that can most customize what you're going to eat. The buffet, you're not always sure that you're going to get just that dietary needs that you need met. If you're like me, you may not want to wait till the nighttime to find out what's on the menu. So there's a couple ways you can find out. One is you can find the daily menu on the app, or you can always find one posted outside the main dining room. When you see that main dining room, you're going to notice something. There are 3 parts. There's an appetizer, and then there's the mains, and then there are the desserts. And we're going to talk a little bit next about what you can do so that you kind of maximize what you want to eat. The first thing you might want to do is you might, after looking at the menu and seeing what looks interesting to you, is you might want to ask your server what he recommends or she recommends. The reason why is because that server, they're watching what people are eating and what they're not eating. And so they will probably have a good idea of what's good and what's not good to order. Something to know is that on the menu, there's a portion that changes every single night. And then there's a portion that stays the same every night. I always look at the portion that changes every night because those aren't coming back. But if there is nothing that looks interesting in that part of the menu, I know I can always fall back on the part that's standard, that's the same every single evening. Your server may suggest trying something you've never tried before. That's my next tip. Tip number 7 is to go ahead and try some new things. Why not? One thing that I'm concerned about when I cruise is food waste. So here's something you can do. I'm going to give you a few tips right now on what you can do to kind of minimize the food you leave on the plate. The first thing you can do is you can mix and match. So what I mean by that is, let's just say you want a steak, but the steak comes with mashed potatoes. And then you look over and the salmon comes with carrots. You'd rather have carrots. You can ask for your steak with carrots. Tip number 9, you can order as much as you want. You can order multiple appetizers, multiple mains, multiple desserts. Now, some cruise lines like Royal Caribbean and Carnival and MSC, they charge you $5 for an extra main. So if you want more than one main dish, they're going to charge you $5. And then on Celebrity, if you want an extra lobster on lobster night, that's gonna be an extra, whoa, this is too much money. An extra $17, well, $16.99. Let's say that you do wanna try something you've never tried before, but you're a little worried that you won't finish it. So you're thinking, you know, I just want a bite. You can actually ask for an appetizer portion of your main, and you can ask for it with no sides. So let's just say you wanna try 3 different mains, no problem. Just ask for them without sides. That way, and ask for smaller portions. That way you can still have the variety and not have the food waste. We're already at tip number 11. Tip number 11, I never even knew to think about it, but you can order off the kids menu. So here's an example of a kids menu on Princess Cruise. So if you don't see anything on that menu that looks appetizing at all, ask for a kids menu. Another thing that you can do when you're in the main dining room is you can talk to your server and give them an idea of how quickly you want to eat. Some people, they like to kind of linger in the main dining room. Me, not so much. I like to eat, and then I like to go to a show or go to a game show or go to trivia, go do something else. So just communicate with your server like what pace you want to eat at. The next couple tips have to do with drinks in the main dining room. Now, sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get that first drink when you sit down and you order if you're getting an alcoholic drink. So here's a tip. The tip is to bring that first alcoholic drink with you. So go to a bar and grab that drink and bring it in with you. And then when you sit down, you can order your second drink. Another tip is that you can bring your own wine. So you can bring your own wine on the cruise and they'll cork it for you. There's a corkage fee. You know, lots of people said they're never charged the corkage fee, but be ready to pay a corkage fee. Another tip is you might bring, so if you want, let's just say you had a bottle of wine you brought from home. You can uncork it in your stateroom. Be sure you bring a bottle opener. And then you can bring that in a wine glass. You can ask for wine glass from your room steward. Or this is a great idea too. If you have a coffee cup, you can fill this with wine because that's gonna hold a lot more than a glass of wine. And when you get to the main dining room, ask for a glass and pour it in. Tip number 15 is what to wear. There are usually 2 formal evenings on a 7-day cruise. So let's start with the formal wear because I think that's what most people are worried about. For women, you can wear a dress, a sundress, a cocktail dress. You know, if you wear a dress, you're good to go. Or you could wear like a nice blouse like this and a pair of slacks, no problem. For men, you'd wear slacks and just some kind of shirt with buttons. It could even be a polo with buttons or a button-up shirt, and that's just fine. No shorts, generally speaking. They don't really like shorts. Not that I've never seen shorts in the dining room, but just avoid the shorts and baseball caps. They hate that. What about the other nights? So for the other nights, it's kind of similar. For women, you can wear a sundress, you can wear slacks and a top, just no shorts. And then for men, and you can wear jeans too. For men, you can wear jeans, slacks, and a button-up top. I've never seen anyone turned away for having a t-shirt on though. Tip number 16 has to do with choosing the cruise line to suit your preference. So some cruise lines are more formal and some are less formal. So for example, Norwegian Cruise Line is less formal. You can wear shorts in the main dining room. And Disney is less formal. You can also wear shorts in the main dining room. On the other hand, Cunard, they're more formal. So they definitely encourage you wearing a suit jacket if you're a man, maybe even a tie and a cocktail dress if you're a woman. Tip 17 has to do with the different types of dining. So there's traditional dining and there's anytime dining. Traditional dining, you generally make that reservation before you even get on the cruise ship on your app. And that is where you eat at the same time every day. And you get the same table and the same wait staff. So there's early dining and late dining. So that is when you know I always want to eat at 5 o'clock because I'm always going to go to the 7:30 show. You get the idea. The other type is called anytime dining, and it's just like it sounds. So many cruise ships now, you can reserve it like that day at a certain time, or you can just go to the dining room and get in line. Just like you would a regular restaurant, you might have to wait a little bit if that's the case. If you choose anytime dining and you have a server you really enjoy, You can always ask for that server each evening. That's a couple of the cruises we went on, that's what happened. We went and we loved that server, so we just, every night we'd go and we'd say, can we have that person's station? They will try to accommodate you. You may not be at the same exact seat, but you often get the servers that you would like. Tip number 18 or question is, who are you gonna sit with? You've probably heard or seen cruise ships have these big tables for 8 to 10, and you might think, do I have to sit next to strangers? No, you can ask for a table for 2, or if you're with 4 people, you can ask for the number that's in your party. Now here's the story. One time we went to lunch. It was a sea day and they served in lunch. They put us at a big round table. There was only 4 of us, but it was a table for 8. So then we sit down and we're getting ready to order. Oh, do you mind if these 2 people join you at the table? And I was a little bit like, what? Like, this is weird. But it actually worked out really well. It was a couple really nice ladies. They were sisters. We got to hear all about them. So, you know, it makes me think sometimes it's a good idea to sit with people that you don't know. Tip number 19, you always want to let your server know if you have an issue. So if you have an issue or complaint, let your server know first before you go to the Maitre D or guest services. Let them try to fix it. And if they can't, they'll escalate it to the Maitre D and try to get the issue resolved. If for some reason you don't like that server, then you could go to the Maitre D and you could be sat at a different table. Let's just say you were sat at a table with a couple that you didn't want to sit next to anymore. Just go tell the Maitre D. You will never see them again. Tip number 20 is you might want to thank your server at the end of the cruise. Your servers, they get to know you. They definitely cater to what you prefer. And they generally, you just kind of develop this little bit of a relationship, a little bit of a rapport with them. So I always bring some thank you notes and leave a little extra tip for them at the end of the cruise. You may wonder, is there ever a time not to eat in the main dining room? There's a couple days. So tip 21 is if you're gonna go to a specialty restaurant, you may wanna do that on the first night for a couple reasons. One, the first night of a cruise can be a little hectic as people are figuring out where they want to sit and just figuring out all about main dining rooms on the first night of a cruise. So going to a specialty restaurant on that first night might be a good idea. And also it might be a good on the last night just to treat yourself. Now that you're ready to walk into that main dining room like a pro, you might want to watch this video next, where I share everything you need to know about getting your cabin just the way you want. Happy sailing!